Hey folks, what's up? Welcome back to another Ropal Massive video, and we're back for the monthly, just an overview of I guess the new units and see how they I guess compare to each other. Which again, I have to mention has no real, like actual functional value. It's just more so entertainment, all right? More so entertainment than again functional value, because when you're talking about practicality, all that stuff, there's much more things to consider than how powerful a unit is compared to like another new unit, right? Which in my opinion doesn't really, I don't personally have much value for that, right? But it's fun. It's fun. So we're gonna do it. Anyways, again, shoutouts for the folks who helped out on this one as usual. So again, I have different opinions. It's just not me running amok. But yeah, shout out Spark, Ropal, Runner, and Joe and Krash for this, right? So let's get into this. So I got 7 units, right? This month, or I guess new units and old units that got either a Synchro or EX, right? So the new units are Getsis, Nessa, B, and where's Rihann? Alright, I guess this. Alright, I forgot. Where's Rihann? Alright, I found Rihann. Poor thing. Got, learning from his, from his rival. Very good at getting lost. I just forgot about it. But yeah. Rihann here as well. So, and then the 3, new ones that got EX is Hilda. I'm missing another one, Berg. Alright, no wonder I thought there was less units here. But yeah, there we go, Berg. Berg, Hilda, Grimsley, and Ethan, the ones with EXs, and then Silver, the one with the Synchro. So let's I think we should probably just start from the bottom, I guess. Probably easier. And the unequivocal, the unanimous MVP for the last spot is unfortunately Grimsley. Grimsley just at this point in time is extremely situational, right? Even though it seems like, as you could steal opponent's stats, you could use that on almost every stage that has a lot of buffs, right? But unless the opponent has like insane absurd amounts of buff, like the Cresselia, right? Or like you just have to take away their buffs, or else like this stage isn't functional for you. There again isn't really much use for Grimsley, because usually there would almost always, not almost, there will always be a unit in your in that team comp that would be more beneficial than Grimsley, right? Might not do what Grimsley does, because very few units do what Grimsley does, right? But will give you much overall value, whether it be an actual tank, not like a fake tank like Grimsley, or be a much better overall debuffer that could get the opponent, under 0, right, into the negatives, or just a support or a secondary striker or whatever. Like there's just so many like roles that are just better than Grimsley. And in terms of his tech EX nuke, okay, he has a nuke, but like he has like, this guy has like where is he? So he has like 200 attack, 234 attack. Right, so not very good, unfortunately. Moving on, next one is probably man, unfortunately it's probably Ethan. Ethan's still solid, right? Very fast, obviously, very good fire AoE damage, but overall AoE moves are just kind of right? And also a lot of times you kind of don't really want to sync with Ethan, right? Since he got the EX and all, which is kind of sad. But I mean, he's still good as an individual unit. It's just that the bar has been raised so much since Ethan got his grid, right? Dude's getting power crept a bit. So moving on. Next is probably Berg, right? Berg does have a sync nuke, which is at Smarty Pants, which isn't the worst since he has a really decent chance of debuffing the opponent's special attack every time he uses Bug Buzz. But again, it is still a debuff sync nuke, which is, again, just not as good as a buffing sync nuke, right? Like, Cakewalk is just not as good as Inertia, right? Because if you take out the opponent's sync pair, you'd have to reapply the debuffs, which a lot of times are on relatively weaker moves, right? So it lowers your DPS, and also, again, you can't do a lot of other things in between, right? It also takes turns to either steal from your buffs or whatever. Just not the best. Again, not terrible, right? Berg, very, very fast. Again, decent-ish DPS with Bug Buzz almost constantly lowering the opponent's special defense, which is really, really nice. Also run him in Sun, I guess. He also has, I think, Solar Flare 5, which is another sync nuke, but again, it's 50%, right? With the condition with Sun. So there's that. Moving on. Hilda's probably next, and Hilda's fantastic, right? With 6REX. Hilda's 6REX is really good. Obviously, the Hilda sync nuke is very, very powerful, right? For one, very, very powerful sync nuke. She has potions, which are nice, right? She does really solid DPS with Flurry Blitz. Bad speed, but again, she could like flame charge if you want to do that, right? You can. You don't have to do that, but you can. But yeah, Hilda is definitely very, very good. Now that she has an EX, that AoE, again, incredible sync nuke is really, really nice for her. Moving on. All right, next one might be a bit of a, I don't know if like surprise is the best way to word it. Also, I all right, give me 2 seconds. I did not prepare this well at all. I need to add more tears. All right, now that we have 2 more tears. So, next one again might come as a surprise to some people, but it's Rihann, unfortunately. He's still good. Again, I'd say overall this month's units, they're all very good, right? There really aren't like too many like bad units, as Grimsley. But yeah, overall I'd say it's a very high ceiling, but like low cap. Like the strongest unit isn't like anything like absolutely nuts or insane or whatever, but the average, power level of all these units are relatively high. Rihann, again, great example of that, right? Really great unit. It's just, it's hard to compare with some of the other ones, right? Rihann, good damage on Steel Beam, right? It's got a few coverage moves. However, the coverage moves are all kind of bad, right? Rockside, not very great. And then you got, I think, Dragon Pulse, right? Which is fine, but like there's just, in comparison to like some of the other Dragon type, it's not very that great, right? So Rihann has a few issues. First, the biggest one, obviously, the speed issue. Not very good. And then you got some other things, which is whether to run him in sand or not, which generally it seems like it's probably not too good to run him in sand, for one, right? And then it's just overall, it kind of reminds me like of N, but not as good as N, right? Because N has like N, despite N's downsides, which again N also has a lot of downsides, but N generally kind of works it out well with himself, right? And with his team comps. He could generally mitigate the downsides of having terrible speed, right? Rihann, you can sort of in sand, right? But then again, that means you have to run Rihann in sand, which does overall lower a lot of your damage output opportunities, and that means you have to run Ace Aurora, which is still a good unit, but it's just hard to run Ace Aurora on like a lot of high damage output team comps, right? It's hard to run Ace Aurora for hyper offense, just because it's Ace Aurora, right? Astonish does not do too much damage, right? In comparison to like a Hydro Cannon from Sing Su Blue, obviously. So he does have some team comp issues. Again, you can run some different comps with them, whether again it's Ace Aurora or Palatine's Dawn or Gloria, right? You definitely have options, but it's just overall, it's just the other units are just very, very good, right? Again, great unit, Rihann, great unit. It's just again we have a lot of very, very good units this month. Next one is Getsis, and there's like a mini debate about these two, but it's basically these two are like around the same level, right? They're, right? Getsis is nice, right? You could definitely help, like if you run like a Getsis with Price, that would be very, very, very fun. Because like the biggest knock on Getsis is Glaciated being AoE, right? Which obviously AoE does cut your damage, which, well, it does give you like better overall damage, but again, it's hard to say, if you want to deny any turns or whatever, right? Not very good for that. However, if you do run him with Price, that does basically mitigate that, because you got like 2 AoEs, so 50% plus 50% is 100%. Obviously, it does not exactly work like that because they have different, damage outputs themselves, but again, it does help mitigate some of Getsis' downsides, right? Getsis also, solid sync, right? You could also run him as like a pure tech unit on some teams, like a Champion Ars or something, but that's obviously not very good. But you could do that, right? He does have definitely, some versatility in terms of like usage and all that stuff. But yeah, solid damage dealer, and all that. Just a great unit overall. All right, so there's that. Moving on, we've got, all right. So basically, when we were like constructing this, it was clear that Grimsley was, the weakest. It was clear that Ethan was next. It was clear that Hilda was better than Berg overall, right? And then it was kind of between these two. Again, majority said, maybe Getsis probably better than Rihann. That's why we have Getsis higher than Rihann here. But yeah, these were kind of ish. And then the next three are kind of hard because they're all really, really good, right? Nessa, B, and Silver. It did take a while. Just differentiate between these three units. All have fantastic upsides, and not a lot of downsides, honestly, for either of them. Except for, I guess, Nessa, does have some downsides. But anyways, these are basically in, like, the same group together, right? But, again, after some discussion, we did have Nessa here, right? Nessa is I can't wait to use Nessa. Nessa looks super fun, right? Nessa looks incredibly fun. Like Restrained Freebie sounds like so fun, right? 40% chance of just basically getting a free move, right, on restricted units, which you will be restricting them, right? But yeah, there are some issues with Nessa though. However, first of all, her being on any optimal teams, it doesn't seem like she's on any optimal teams, unfortunately. Obviously, again, you don't have to run her on optimal teams, but like the really sad thing is for the optimal team that she is like sort of competing for, the option is like a free to play unit, which is Palkia, which is kind of sad. So that's like, again, it's not like a huge knock on her, right? Not a huge knock. But there are like some other issues, like stuff like I saw a lot of people, looking at Nessa's sync nuke numbers and going crazy. Oh, look at how much damage her sync nuke does. She does do a lot of damage on sync nuke. However, being a high damage sync nuke and being a good sync nuke are different things, right? You can have a very, very high damage sync nuke, doesn't really mean it's fantastic, right? For example, Mallows, you get very, very high damage numbers on it. Doesn't mean it's overall good, no, because some of the sync nuke nodes are not very great. Conditions are not great. Team comps are not great, right? All that stuff, and you kind of have that with Dreadnought, right? For example, Cakewalk is not good. Cakewalk is not good. Sure, it could give you the highest damage cap for Nessa on her sync nuke, but overall, it's not something you want to pick up because you have team comp issues. You have move, move order issues, right? With that. So what you probably generally do want to do with Dreadnought is probably run like a Razor Shell DPS build, which is, still very, very good, right? Her Razor Shell DPS is fantastic on top of, every other turn, on average, every other turn. You could debuff your opponent's defense, which is nice. You can definitely pick up Relentless, though. Relentless is definitely better than Cakewalk, because it's much more, it has much better usability, right? And defense buffs are just, like, if you really want to bring, like, another unit to help with her sync nuke, bringing in a defense debuffer is much better than bringing in a speed debuffer, right, for one. But yeah, you could definitely run Relentless. Again, you could definitely run, or you definitely want to run Raging Rain 3, all that stuff. You maybe don't need Racing Range 3 if you're running her with like a Singsu Blue and Swampert, but stuff like Racing Range 3, Relentless, again, Razor Shell DPS, very, very good, right? If you want, you could probably also run like a triple striker / damage healer comp with like Mei, Sharpedo, and Dreadnought. The amount of like damage or defense debuffs that you could get around could like really increase your team's DPS overall, which is really nice. Or if you want to run her with like a Halloween Hilbert, that could also work as well. Again, very, very fun team comps. Can't wait to use her. Seems super fun. All right, moving on. Between these two, it was basically 50-50 between Silver or B, but I think we had more people. I think one more person go for B. Although I personally, pick Silver, but again, in terms of overall opinion, people did think B was slightly better, but all the people who did think B was better also didn't mind Silver being there. Same thing with the Silver people, right? Because again, these two are extremely powerful units. But yeah, Silver's fantastic. Like, driving me nuts. People are underrating the hell out of Silver. People are underrating the hell out of Silver. First of all, Silver has a straight up 600k DPS move with Overheat, right? Which is fantastic. You have a 600 DPS move combined with a inertia sync nuke that gives you Sun on sync, right? Is crazy. On top of having Speeding Sun 2, which is fantastic if you want to run a secondary striker, which you do want to run with Silver, right? Silver just enables so many great strikers, right? A lot of sync pairs, very, very good sync pairs in the game, right? Leon, arguably, the best striker in the game, right? You could definitely run Leon with Silver. You could run Singsu Red with Silver, right? Running Leon, Singsu Red, so it's just so good, right? These are all great units that benefit from having Silver on your team. Again, Silver does kind of have a bit of the same issue with Nessa in terms of, is Silver legitimately on any most optimal team comps? Probably not. And that's why, overall, we do think like, this month's, again, very, very good units overall, right? High ceiling but low, or high floor but low ceiling, right? We didn't get like a Mei, or we didn't get like a Palkia, right? That's just 100% in like most optimal team comps. But yeah, Silver's fantastic. Also fantastic, grass type coverage move here with Solar Beam, which is obviously, in comparison to some of like the coverage moves that like Kirim has or like Rihann has, Solar Beam much, much better, right? First of all, being single target 2-gauge spam bull, all that stuff. Sacred Fire is okay. Although Overheat is definitely better than running Overheat is definitely better than running Sacred Fire though. And this guy has one of the most cheapest grids in the universe. This guy's grid is insanely cheap. Overheat move gauge refresh 3 costs 2 energy. Why in the world does this thing that usually costs you 7 energy, and usually 7 energy doesn't even get you move gauge refresh, because we've been getting a lot of move gauge refresh 2s, right, in the recent months, but somehow it gets you move gauge refresh 3 for only 2 energy, which is nuts. And they got fast track 3, which costs you 4 energy only, for a 40% chance of increasing your speed by 1 every time you use it. And obviously that coupled with ramming speed and inertia is, fantastic, right? Yes. Silver's very busted. Silver's very, very busted. A lot of people are just don't. I don't know if people just don't haven't looked at his grid, or haven't I guess thought about some of the implications yet or whatever, but a lot of people are not satisfied with Silver's grid at all, which is crazy because this guy's insanely busted. Anyways, moving on to B, right? Very, very great unit here, right? In terms of overall DPS, is it better than say Wally or East or Mei? The answer is no, but B is probably a better. I don't know if it's better overall unit in comparison to Mei, but it's probably a better overall unit in comparison to Wally, which makes me sad because I'm a big Wally fan personally, right? But B is again probably just better than Wally, right? I mean, her DPS isn't like that much lower than Wally's, and she has a fantastic sync nuke and inertia, right? Which is obviously very, very nice. And then on top of, having a 4-gauge move, you also have critical charge 9, which guarantees 1 gauge back on your 4-gauge move, which is obviously very, very good. On top of that, you only have 1 attacking move, which is fantastic. So you got X attack, got X speed, and then you got hold strong that gives you +2 defense, +1 evasion, and gradual heals, right? So you're also pretty solid defensively despite the lower stats, right? And then you also have sharp entry 2, so there's that, and also crit strike 3 on top of your inertia sync, which is again very, very, very good, right? And yeah, just there's a lot of different things that you could run on B. Could be a fantastic fantastic Battlefield unit too, right? You get like max crit on entry, and among other things, right? The crit ferocity too, whatever, right? But yeah, just an overall really, really, really great unit, right? That you could run. Yeah, I don't know, it's big damage. Overall, right? Overall damage, not in terms of DPS. But yeah, anyways, that's maybe this one, I guess. Hope you guys know. Let me guys think in the comments down below. Like, this or channel for some more Ropal content. I'll see you guys in the next one.